Hello again, everybody. Ooh, it's hard to see me. I'm outside. Okay, let me turn towards the light. All right, so earlier we asked a question, and it was, does God hear the prayer of a non-believer? And some of you guys put some comments on there, which was awesome. I'm glad that somebody out there is listening. Most of the comments were pretty fabulous, but let's go into some detail as to what you think. Now I'm going to read some verses to you, and at first these verses may seem one-sided, which is some of the issue when people don't know how to explore the Bible. They kind of find a verse, it says one thing, and they leave it at that, and that's what they truly insist on. But there's a little bit of exploring that has to be done with everything that you find, because well, first of all, the Bible's split up into two different parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And the Old Testament has some laws that were changed in the New Testament, but that's a bunch of stuff for another day. So let's get started with this. Does God hear the prayer of the non-believer? So the first verse I'm going to read to you is 1 Peter 3:12, and it says, "The eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right, and his ears are open to their prayers. But the Lord turns his face against those who do evil." So keep that verse in mind. And I'm going to read Psalms 66:18. It says, "If I regard wickedness in my heart, the Lord will not hear." So there's a bunch of different verses around that pretty much says those who do evil, those who do not have the Lord in their heart, those who do bad things. It makes it seem, if you just stop there, as if it's saying God doesn't hear you. So hold that thought, and I'm going to tell you guys about a guy I've talked about in my Sunday school class. He's a pretty cool dude. His name is Cornelius. He was a Roman soldier in the New Testament, and he was a Gentile. And some crazy things about being a Gentile back then was that you were not allowed to be saved unless you converted into a Jew and then into Christian. So it was a big debacle. These people, they kind of looked at him as, you can't be saved. But it says in the Bible that Cornelius was a God-fearing man who helped the poor and prayed often. But according to Scripture, he was not saved until a little while later, when Peter comes along and talks him through it and helps him be saved. So pretty much the gist of these things is you have one side that says, the eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right, and his ears are open to their prayers, but the Lord turns his face against those who do evil. So if you catch that, he turns his face against them. He does not turn his ears against them. So he hears everything, which is exactly what some of you put in the comments. He hears and knows everything, which he does. Now, whether he decides to answer that for you, that's a different story. So if you're not saved, but you know that there is a God and you want to be saved, or you're thinking about it, but you pray, then chances are he's out there, he's listening, and he's answering. Now, what the Bible is meaning by all of this is, saved or not saved, if you don't talk to God until, something happens, say you're struggling all of a sudden, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should pray my way out of this, or you did something and you feel guilty and you're wanting to get rid of that, then you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should pray out of it. That's not how it works. You don't just pray when you need something. It's a complete relationship with God, and that's when he hears you. But chances are, if you're a non-believer and you're praying to God, you're working your way up there. So if you do want to know more about being saved, you can ask me. I have a private message box there. You can comment me and tell me to message you, and I can help you through that as well. But so the answer to our question is definitely yes, which is what all of you all put, but there are circumstances to that if you do your exploring. If you're a completely evil person that goes around and murders 5 people a day and then says, oh, I'll pray for forgiveness, I'm good, then it's not going to work that way. But if you are like Cornelius, you're a God-fearing man, you know he's out there, you're doing right in the world, you're trying to get there, hopefully one day you do get there, I'm rooting for you, then God's going to hear your prayer. So that's the end of that one, and I'll check back in, do some more questions throughout the time. I hope you guys liked it. Comment and let me know, and like I said, if you have any questions about being saved, taking that next step, if you're a Cornelius and you're wanting to be, you know, the end of Cornelius where he is finally saved against all odds, then let me know and I can help you through it. Have a good night.